Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Going to do the CFS 6 months look ahead for January today, the first one of 2015. This will be taking us up to July, can you believe, this CFS 6 months look ahead. It's just for fun, really. The charts are there, so might as well use them, but it's really just for fun, just for amusement purposes. Don't take what you see in this video too seriously, particularly when you get towards the 4, 5, 6 months away time frame. It's a little bit more reliable, say for the next couple of months, but after that, going 3, 4, 5, 6 months ahead, just with one model, is really rather dodgy indeed. So we'll have a look and see what the charts are showing. Hope you find the video fun and interesting and informative. But before I get on with that, though, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on most of the pages at JFF.com. Have a browse through the widgets. Any articles that you're interested in, just click through and you'll be able to go off and read those articles. There's also weather-related ads on those pages, yellow boxes, so see what those are. And just generally have a play around with the ads. The helping to pay website. Allow me to sit here and talk to you via the website. Had a message from Colin about Gav Shop. Wanted to know whether it's still possible to do shopping through Gav Shop outside of Christmas. You know, I normally link to it at Christmas in November and December. It is indeed possible to do that. Gav Shop is in the background of the website throughout the year. I don't get rid of the page, I just don't bother linking to it. But I'll put a link to it actually on the links page. So if you've got any shopping to do, at least say Christmas shopping then, if you've got any shopping to do at Amazon at any point through the year, really, just click through the Amazon banners in Gav Shop and you get, as I say, to Gav Shop via the links page. So yeah, Gav Shop is still there. I don't link to it, I don't mention it in the videos really until November, but it's there all year round. So if you want to do your shopping at Amazon at any point through the year, you are more than welcome to click through the Amazon banners in Gav Shop and do that. So thanks very much, and yeah, you can get to it from the links page. Right, let's get on with the CFS 6 months look ahead. We're going to start off with the 700 millibar height anomalies from CFS V2 model. This first anomaly is for February, the month coming up. And it's similar really, apparently similar to what we've had throughout the winter so far, with this deep trough of low pressure sitting to the west and the northwest of the country, a ridge through the central part of the Atlantic and going off into Central Europe as well. The jet stream with this is coming through like that. So it's another westerly month. Generally it's quite a mild scenario being indicated there, particularly for many parts of Europe, and it's also pretty unsettled as well. That's a deep trough out in the Atlantic, so that will be throwing up bands of rain. It's a very similar scenario to what we've had through December and much of January so far. So yeah, the CFS is seeing that the final month of winter continues very much in the same vein as we've had it through the first 2 months of this winter. Now, a little bit of a change as we go through into March, in that the trough here is becoming more centred over the top of the British Isles, so it's more or less sitting over the top of the country. It's not a deep trough either, it's much less weak compared to what it was. It's out in the Central Atlantic, but there it is over the top of the British Isles. We've got a little bit of ridging here around Greenland as well, and that does back in towards the north of Scandinavia. At times, that could be allowing cold air to infiltrate into this trough. So I think the CFS V2 is seeing the chance of a colder pattern for March. I wouldn't necessarily be running away with the idea that this is a particularly severe month. It's certainly nothing like March 2013 on this sort of setup. But yeah, it is the chance of a cold pattern. It's a different pattern to February. It's a different pattern to what we've had throughout the winter so far, and that will probably give us our best shot at having some colder weather whilst it's still possible. March can potentially be a cold and snowy month, as we saw in 2013, and this would give us probably our best shot at that this winter season, although it is going on into the start of spring, of course, when you get to March. Now for April, we're losing a blocking up to the north. We've still got the ridge close to the trough, I should say, close to the British Isles, but we're losing the ridging up to the north. Instead, we're setting it up through the central Mediterranean again. That's another unsettled month, but it's a milder month because the flow is coming something like that. So the air is coming back in from the Atlantic, and much more of a milder part of the Atlantic as well, coming up from a southwesterly type direction. So that's a milder month for April, but still relatively unsettled. There could be quite a few April showers coming through with that, because the trough is still in there close to the British Isles. We move through to May, and this isn't that great. It's similar to what we had last month. The ridge is down across Spain and Portugal and North Africa, but we've got this trough sitting to the east of the country. You can see it over here a little bit better around Scandinavia. Also got a trough to the south of Greenland. It's not a great pattern, that. The flow, I think, is generally tracking to the south of the country. It could be relatively unsettled and probably quite cool as well. I think that could be a pretty cool May being signalled there. Not a great start to the summer, but of course by the time we get to this point, we're going excuse me, we're going out now to 4 months away. By the time we get to this point, it is far from reliable, so we are now really getting into the vein of it being just the thumb. We move through into June, and it's a very similar signal in some ways, although we're losing the trough to the east country, but we've still got it to the south of the Greenland area of low pressure there. We've got a ridge down to the southwest. That's quite nicely placed, because the flow will probably be going something like that, so it could be okay, but of course with this trough down to the south of Greenland, that could bring unsettled conditions at times. But overall, I don't think that's too bad. The ridge is fairly close to us from the southwest, so it will be pushing in at times, giving us some decent weather. I don't think it's that warm, because the flow is off the Atlantic. There's nothing to suggest sort of southerlies or easterlies with that, or southeasterlies coming in off the hot continent. So it's relatively cool, I would suggest, with the flow off the Atlantic, but it could be quite nice. Could be a decent and pleasant enough month, albeit the temperature probably not amounting to too much. And then finally, as we go through to July, as far as we can go, 6 months ahead really is just the thumb. For July, we're seeing that we've got a ridge here up to the northeast of the country around Scandinavia. Otherwise, there's not a great deal going on. I think the flow is probably going something like that. So despite that ridge being up to the northeast, it could be a relatively cool and unsettled month, really, this. The trough of low pressure isn't really signalled, but I think there would almost certainly be a trough somewhere in the Atlantic, an area of low pressure, bringing relatively unsettled conditions through, and the jet stream could be on a relatively southerly track as well for the time of the year. Now, if that ridge was to strengthen any more over Scandinavia, it could start to push the flow in from the east and the southeast. Of course, that's going to be hot once you get through to July, and it's far too far away to be worrying about it in any case. But on the face of it, that's not a great chart, really. It's not as good as it looks like it could be with that ridge up to the northeast. Have a look at the temperatures, how the temperatures correspond with all of this. This is the temperature anomaly for February, first of all, and a very mild month being signalled here for most of Europe, as has been the case through most of the winter. British Isles is cooler, actually. We're one of the coolest parts of Europe. We're only an average, we're not cold by any means, but it's certainly cooler out to the far west and northwest of Europe, and this really implies a continuation of what we've seen through December and January, which is a relatively unsettled month, and coolish at times with westerly, northwesterly flows, but nothing really suggesting a very cold pattern setting up there for the final month of the winter. Now we go through to March, and notice that all of that red and orange is gone. Well, we've still got some orange across the east and the southeast of Europe, so that's where the milder temperatures are, but most of Europe actually coming out average around the seasonal normal, and that's significantly colder, of course, compared to what's going on in February. This is the signal for February, very warm month for most parts of Europe compared to average, but no, for March it's a much cooler month, although we're only at sort of average temperatures, but that's a big drop in terms of the anomaly compared to February. So that does imply that with that trough sitting around the northwest of Europe, around the British Isles in March, we could start to infiltrate some colder air from the northern latitudes into that trough at times. On the face of it, March offers our best chance of getting some significantly cold and perhaps wintry conditions coming through. It's not in February, it's in March. As we go through into April, we're near normal. It's warming up a little bit across central parts of Europe. The reason for that, of course, is that the flow is going more southwesterly in April. We've got this trough somewhere around here. Got a ridge through into here, and yeah, the flow is going much more southwesterly as we go through into April. So that's pulling in that milder air from a more southerly point in the Atlantic Ocean, and that's responsible for lifting the temperatures up, particularly through central and southern parts of Europe. I would expect on that sort of anomaly the British Isles to be warmer than that as well, probably warmer than average in the British Isles, although, as I say, it's an unsettled scenario. Have a look at precipitation in a moment. The temperature anomaly for May is near normal, and notice quite cool, actually, quite a cool month for most parts of Europe. The reason for that is that the jet stream is on a southerly track, I think, through May. It's not a great month at all, really, jet stream doing something like that. So coming through Europe, quite an unsettled and quite a coolish month being signalled there. We go through into June, again another relatively cool month being signalled. It does look, I've explained this in the CFS 6 months look aheads that we've done over the last couple of months. It does look as though 2015 should, and I emphasise the word should because all of this is experimental, just for fun, but it looks as though 2015 should be quite a substantially cooler year compared to 2014. The record-breaking warmth that we had through 2014 doesn't look as though it's going to go on into 2015 particularly. So whilst it may not be a particularly cold year, there's nothing here on any of these months to suggest a very cold month coming through. We're losing this signal through the year as we're advancing through the year. We're losing the signal for very warm months, not just in the British Isles but for most of Europe as well. So it does imply that 2015, if nothing else, should be a cooler year compared to 2014. So this is the temperature anomaly for June, just for fun really, and it's coming out generally quite cool, average to cool really for most parts of Europe. Again, nothing to suggest a particularly cold month, but certainly nothing particularly exciting in terms of those temperatures, and that goes on into July as well. Warmer than average for Scandinavia. That's where we've got that ridge sitting over Scandinavia, but it isn't as good for most of Europe as you would have thought looking at the 700 millibar height anomaly, and that's backed up by this temperature anomaly, with again most of Europe average to rather cool, if anything. Finally, have a look at the precipitation anomaly for anomalies for the next 6 months. February forecast to be a wetter than average month, very unsettled month being signalled again for February. For March, it's drier. That's a little bit surprising, really, because the trough is centred more or less over the top of the country. In March, it's centred somewhere around here, but notice all this red around Norway. We've also got red around Iceland, so I've got high pressure up here, and this trough in any case over the country is a little bit weaker, or certainly quite a lot weaker compared to February. But the main point, I think, is that with this ridging up here, sort of areas of high pressure blocking up to the north, we will be able at times to really infiltrate cold air into that trough of low pressure. So again, March does probably hold the greatest chance of getting some wintry conditions coming through, whilst it's still possible anyway to get significant wintry conditions. March probably holds the best prospect for that. For April, it turns a little bit wetter than average. Remember, the jet stream is coming from the southwest in April, so it's a warmer, wetter month going through into April. For May, near normal to a little bit wetter than average. But jet stream in May, remember, is going south of the country, so it's probably going through somewhere here. So it may not be a particularly wet month actually, but it would be rather on the cool side. Going through to June, It's okay actually, but precipitation is okay in June. We've got that ridge sitting down to the southwest, remember. It's somewhere around there. So whilst the temperatures aren't all that good, because the ridge is ridging through in that sort of position, it's not too bad in terms of the rainfall. It could be a relatively dry month, but it is a good deal more, cooler for June, but also the rainfall is coming out a little bit dry. So quite an unusual combination that for a summer month, relatively dry but also relatively cool. And then finally going through to July. By this point we really are in the realm of speculation, just for fun. Don't take this at all seriously, please. Don't do that. But for July, well, it's not too bad again, maybe a little bit on the drier side there. No real strong signal, I don't think, but if anything probably the west of Europe a little bit on the drier side, with the wetter conditions down to the south east of Europe. But again, the temperatures for July aren't anything to write home about, and that's both summer months doing that we've got here. June and July both looking relatively dry but also relatively cool. That's an unusual combination in summer. It will be quite unlikely that will come off. If it's cool, it's normally unsettled. If it's dry, it's normally quite hot or quite warm in the summer. So unusual sort of patterns there for the summer, and it's so far away it's not worth worrying about, but it's there, so I might as well look at it. But I wouldn't be particularly sure that that's how the summer is going to pan out, because I say cool and dry in summer is quite an unusual combination. Come back to the nearer time frame though, the part that is perhaps a little bit more reliable. February looking like being another unsettled month on this setup, relatively mild. Would be some cool weather coming through at times as winds goes northwest, as we've had through December and January, but nothing there to suggest a very cold month, and an unsettled month as well, wet. March, the trough sort of sinks down over the country with some blocking up to the north, so March probably, and I say probably, emphasising it really, probably giving us our best chance of colder conditions in March. I wouldn't be running away with the idea that it's going to be a repeat of 2013. That was a very extreme pattern. But yeah, March could be the one that gives us our greatest chance of some colder conditions. Of course, by the time you get to March, a lot of people want to get on with spring, so it might not necessarily be good news that we could be looking at some colder conditions in March. But I think that's the way the CFS V2 is shaping up anyway, with a very backloaded sort of winter, the best chance of colder wintry conditions coming through right at the end of the winter, possibly even into the start of spring. That's it for now. Hope you found the video interesting and informative. It's just for fun. The chances are there, you might as well use them, but don't be too confident in anything that you've seen in this video. I'm certainly not. And that's it for now. We'll do it again next month. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.